Hey everyone, it's Dr. J. Rutland. I think what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about shoes. This is the shoe episode. A lot of you have asked about my shoes. You've asked about why do you care so much about sneakers? Are you just a sneakerhead? And it's funny because when you first think about it, you think, yeah, I'm just a sneakerhead. But then I started to really think about why I'm a sneakerhead and where the root of that problem, so to speak, actually derived from. And so, you know, who I have with me today is, to me, he's a friend, he's an uncle, he's a neighbor. To everyone else, he's a musician, he's an artist, he's a friend to many. His name is Raphael Saadiq, and I grew up next door to him, and he invited me here to be able to talk about life, shoes,
everything.
So I was about 13, 14 years old when Raphael moved next door to my Aunt Ginger. Like, there were so many people that would, like, show up in limos I would shake the hands of, and I wouldn't even, like, I would think nothing of it, but I was kind of oblivious to what was going on.
Yes, you were. Jamie, you know, I didn't know what his story, his deal was completely when I moved over there, but I knew his mom lived in San Francisco, and he was living with his aunt and his uncle. And so I was the bro next door. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be this dude from Oakland in your life that's going to be giving you, like, the realest of the real. Like, when you say something funny, I'm going to say something funnier to you. I would say things to make him question me. And he would question me. Like, he would just put his head out the window and go like, what do you mean? You know, so you would have to always kind of, like, you know, explain what you mean, you know. And I did it the best way I could, in the most tactful way.
When I hear Raphael talk like that and notice these things about me growing up, you know, you start to think of where did that initial curiosity of becoming a physician come from, right? And it's something that, I don't know, I guess that I had, always questioning things and always wanting to know, you know, why this or why that. And when you're a teenager and you're growing up, you really don't realize how much you're learning from people by just watching behavior. And one of the things that I admire about Raphael, and one of the things that I learned, and the reason that I do certain things, and I'm going to give you a specific example, is Raphael was a super talented, super famous musician, and he had a very modest house. He had a recording studio like this in his house.
It was small.
It was smaller?
Tiny.
It was tiny. But he always had a nice car, but it was black, or it was gray. It was neutral. It was just, it would blend in with society, because he's not the type of guy that would want all of the light. I live in Southern California now, right next to Newport Beach, and all these guys are driving these lime green Lamborghinis and, you know, electric blue Lamborghinis and Bugattis, and I'm like, dude, you got a Bugatti. Like, you don't need to make it electric blue.
All right. But I'm going to stop you there for 1 second, because there's one area where you do not like to fit in. You brought your shoe collection here.
Let's see it.
Not the whole collection. I did bring some favorite shoes. So I do like to be different. And we're going to get into why I became a sneakerhead. But here's some of my favorite shoes. So these are like one of my pride and joys. These are the off-white Jordan 1s.
Wow.
Euros, we call them. And these were a pair of shoes I bought probably within the last month or two, actually.
Those are crazy.
Yeah. Right?
I've never seen these before.
Yeah.
Wow. What size are these?
10.5.
Wow.
So, you know, like, I think sneakers became like a reward to me. These are the Travis Scotts.
Wow. I didn't know Travis Scott had a shoe, but
Got a shoe with Nike.
I mean, I don't know why I didn't, like. Wow, these are nice. I feel like this is a reproduced shoe. I feel like I've seen this shoe back in the day.
That's a Jordan 1. The first Jordans.
No,
Everybody's...
but the color scheme.
Oh.
Maybe it was just somebody who was bold enough to put pink shoelaces in his brown and white shoe.
I did put pink shoelaces in there.
You did that.
I did.
This is yours.
Yeah.
This is
The laces came with it, but the laces were not in them. So they gave you like 4 or 5 options of laces.
Got it. Okay. That's hot.
Yeah.
I feel that.
And then we were talking about Oregon a minute ago. So I got these old school like Jordan 5s, the Oregon.
Ducks.
Yeah, the Ducks.
The Ducks.
The Jordan 5s. You see those?
The O is fresh.
Yeah. The O is fresh.
The O is real fresh. Yeah.
The O
this is full. This is sick.
Yeah.
Not it. I mean, the Ducks are fresh, but you know.
But like one of my favorite shoes is a custom shoe. They're an off-white Presto, which a lot of people have. But what I did with them was I have a guy in North Carolina, and I was like, hey, I want them tie-dyed, but there's certain colors in the tie-dye that I want. And they came out stupid fire.
You had these shoes tie-dye.
I had those shoes tie-dyed. They were all white. And I said tie-dye them, which is a big risk when you're doing when you're asking somebody to make you shoes, right? You're sending them away. You pay money for them, and you're like, hey, do this perfectly. His name is Sir Castle Tees, by the way. And they came out just perfect. Super fire.
Yeah, this is a little Bugatti-ish.
A little bit.
You did make it. You did make it.
I know.
That's fresh.
It's a little.
But that
Bugatti.
is fresh that you even thought of having somebody tie-dye a shoe that was just white.
I mean, I think when you're in the hospital, like as a physician, right? All the physicians wear white coats. They all look similar. We won't get into exactly what they look like, but they all look similar, right? And so when you're walking around, like at least when you're like me and what I grew up with, what I grew up next door to is you want to do something different. So it's like, how are you going to separate yourself, right? Because when you walk into a room, you have to have the same like foundation almost as everybody else, but something's got to stand out.
Right.
So I chose my kicks.
Okay.
Right. And what's funny is like you started that for me, and I didn't realize it until I thought about it recently, getting all these questions about like, why do you care about shoes so much? And he doesn't notice it probably, but like when I was 14 and he lived next door, I was playing hoop. He said to me, hey, listen, if you score 20 points in a game, I'm gonna get you whatever shoe you want. And I was like, are you sure? Because I was good at hoop. Like I wasn't terrible at all. And he was like, yeah, I'm sure. So one day I scored 20. I came home. Ray. Like morning, he's like, what's up? Sleep in his tank top. And I was like, I scored 20, bruh. He was like,
where's my shoe?
Right. So he was like, come on. So we went to Downtown Plaza in Sacramento, California, Foot Locker, second floor, back by the movie theater. And at that time, it was like 1996, 1995, 1996, something like that.
Let's get down.
Yeah, let's get down.
Right.
Yeah. And we were, and so the foam posits had just came out, like the Air Penny foam posits in blue. And I have them on today. And these were the first shoes that you ever purchased for me. And they mean a lot because I just recently had to rebuy them. Not recently, maybe like 5 years ago, 4 years ago. I rebought
now Penny's a coach.
Yeah, I know. You're right. Yeah, I know.
Wow.
But, you know what happened, and you know some of this, is about 2 weeks after you bought me these shoes.
Yeah, that's the story I've been waiting to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 weeks after he bought me these shoes, my cousin Todd had come into town from Oakland, and I had a girlfriend at the time, and we decided to go to the movies. So I went to my dad's, and I rarely went to my dad's, but I went to my dad's. And my dad was a little bit more lenient than, you know, my family. You know how my family is.
Right.
So my dad dropped me off at the movies with my cousin Todd. I had Todd's shoes on. He had Air Max 95s in red. He wanted to wear my pennies, so I let him wear my pennies. So we went to the movies that night. We saw Titanic, 3 hours. Right? You go to the movies when you're that age, you know, you want to make out with your girl, you know, whatever. So you pick the longest movie, right? That's probably why we picked Titanic. So movie's over. We leave the movie theater, and the door shuts behind us, and my dad's not there, and that's like not surprising.
Right, of course.
You
Right.
you know that. Like my dad was not really present all the time, and you know my grandfather would say like he doesn't quite tell it like it is, right? That's what granddaddy would say. So my girlfriend, she left. Like her mom picked her up and asked if I needed a ride home, and I was like, nah, I'm cool, I got it. Dad's not there. We can't go back in the movie theater. We didn't have any more money, so we look like beyond this field, this dirt field in Elk Grove, and this is when Elk Grove's first being developed, right? It's '96. And there's a hometown buffet, and it's well lit, and there's lots of cars there. So Todd's like, let's go. Let's just go walk over there. And I was like, cool. So we start walking over there. So we see this, like, yellow, like, Camaro, like, drive past and kind of reverse and then, like, park and post up. Todd and I are like, it's kind of weird. So us being stupid 15-year-olds, like, we start walking kind of more, like, closer towards the car. Like, why is that car pulling up? The driver comes around to the side. And the passenger dude just kind of sits there, and I think he's like smoking a cigarette or something. And the guys are probably like 30, all right? I was 15. And the dude was like, hey. And so we're like, what's up? And we start walking towards him more. And he reaches, like, he's about to pull a gun out, right? So Todd and I just like immediately just like run. Like we just shake it, we run. But back then you try to be cool, so you're wearing your shoes loose. And so I think like one of the shoes had like fell off of Todd's foot. And then the other one fell, and we just running and running and running and running. I mean, we're screaming, and the guys eventually, like, pick up the shoes and, like, skid out and take off. And so Todd don't have no shoes. I got on these red Air Max 95s, and I was like, well, here, like, just take one shoe. So we end up walking back to the movie theater. We call 911. Cop comes, and he says, where did this take place? Describe the guys, describe the car. And we did all that. He's like, son, do you need a ride home? You know, my dad still hadn't shown up. It's probably like an hour now. So I said, yeah, the story's not over. So we get home to Elk Grove, to my dad's house. It's not really home. I don't even know why I'm saying home. But we get to the house, and his car is in the driveway. And I'm like sitting there, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what's going on? So I walk in the house, and there's 4 dudes, goons, in the house. One dude with cornrows, light-skinned cat, real smooth and cool. 3 other dudes, like little goons. They're probably like 17, and he's probably like 30, 35. Right. And I think
But was it the same guys that stopped
No.
you guys? Different guys?
different
you
guys.
think? Completely?
All the same night, though.
Wow.
My wife at the time was drinking that night, and she was sitting on the couch. I have a little sister who's much younger. She was like 4. She was in bed asleep, and these dudes were at the house. And I had actually brought 2 pairs of shoes over to my dad's house that day. To go there because I didn't know what shoes I was going to wear. And it was a shoe that my uncle and aunt had recently bought me. Billy and Terry bought me a pair of shoes out of the East Bay magazine on page 47 in the upper right-hand corner. I can't remember the name of the shoe, but I know exactly which magazine in East Bay it was, and I know the page number. It's weird. So I brought those shoes over too. And normally I kept the shoes on top of the washing machine in the laundry room at my dad's house. And I didn't want to leave them on the floor. I didn't want them to get dirty. But I walked in the door, and I immediately go to the laundry room to see if my shoes are there. My shoes aren't there. And I'm like, damn it, like, where are those shoes? So throughout the night, the guy has my dad's car. And I have no idea at the age of 15, like, what is going on.
Right.
My stepmom's drinking. Eventually, she takes the keys to the car off the counter and, like, hides them in a place where no one should search for keys.
Why did she hide the keys?
She was kind of, like, emotional and... You know, she was questioning why the guys had dad's car, just like I was. And then I had set my wallet down too. And they stole my wallet and my money. And I was a little hot-headed, you know that. I always had a mouth. And so I was talking, I was like, where is my wallet? Where is my money? Not realizing the danger that I was probably in. And I screamed out loud, and the dude with Rose, who was totally emotionless and in control of the entire situation, huddled up with his goons, and he was like, whoa, and he gave me my wallet and my cash back. And he was like, my cousin's ashamed, I'm sorry, whatever. And I was like, well, now that I got my wallet, where are my shoes? He's like, we did not take your shoes. I can promise you that.
Once the guys gave you your wallet back, you convinced somebody to bring your wallet back, and they were nice enough and said, here goes your wallet, man. And then you realized, but you still didn't have your shoes, and you realized that maybe it was your dad. Do you think
Yeah.
it was your dad still today, or do you think they might have just took your shoes? Because they could have took your shoes too.
They could have. At that moment, 15 years old, knowing somebody stole my wallet, I thought to myself, this dude is under control. He has control of the situation. He gave me my wallet back. And I was like, well, if he gave my wallet back and all I had to do was ask for it, there's no way he took my shoes. They're not in the car. And so then I just kind of thought, well, then my dad must have taken my shoes. But I'm 15, right? So I don't know
Right. So maybe.
what he did with them.
Yep. I don't want to say your dad took your shoes. I don't want to say that. But
Right.
I just want to say if you only had $7 in your wallet,
Yeah.
then what shoes were they? They were what shoes?
So the shoes, they were like a pair of Nikes. They were like white and green and black. I can't remember the
About
exact
$50.
name.
60,
No, they were 120.
120.
Yeah.
So $7 versus 120. They took your shoes.
You think they took my shoes too?
Yeah, they took the shoes.
Where were they?
You didn't have them.
I didn't
The
have them.
secret is for you not to know.
Right.
For them to be able to leave, like give the kid back his $7.
But the shoes were gone like as soon as I walked in the door.
Yeah, they
weren't
already
there.
took them. They had already taken them because you're bold. I know.
Yeah.
And you were like, "Where's my wallet?" Super annoying. It was like, we could slap him right now, but you know what? This kid is being very like, "Where's my wallet?" Give him his wallet, bro. Here goes your $7, bro. We feel bad
Yeah.
for you because, we're here under some not so cool circumstances. We really don't want to be taking your $7 or your shoes, but maybe we need that because maybe somebody owes us some money
Yeah.
in your family. You don't know what's going on as a kid.
None. Not.
So we're just going to take as many things as we can and get out of here. Let you live your life and you figure it out today or whenever. I think that's probably
I mean, you're probably right.
it.
You're probably. I mean,
Your dad wasn't going to wear those shoes, correct?
No. No.
They would.
Right.
Yeah, they took the shoes.
Maybe that's what happened.
Does that make you feel better? That thought?
I mean,
$7, $100. Bro.
you're right. No, you're right. I mean, thinking about it that way, I mean, does it make you feel better? I mean, again, when you're realizing the situations that you're put in, right? Like you're kind of like, whoa, and you don't want to think about your relative in that way, like, oh, they stole things from me, and I don't want anybody to think that like, my dad was not cool, because my dad was cool.
Yeah.
So the struggle goes on for a while. I try to get the car keys from my stepmom because I wanted the guys out of the house, right? Because I'm 15. I'm feeling like I'm in an uncontrollable situation. My little sister, who was a baby, like 4 or 5 years old, woke up, was crying and screaming. I had to put her back to sleep and stuff. For reasons that I still cannot explain, and I thought long and hard about this, I didn't call my uncle. I didn't call my mom. I didn't call my granddad. I didn't call my aunt. I didn't call anybody. I didn't call my brother. I didn't call anybody on that side of the family. And I'm wondering, is it because I was in some kind of a hostage situation and I'm just like suppressing it so much that I don't remember that detail? Or did I just really just not call? I mean, it was 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night. I don't know.
I feel like the reason why you didn't call anybody, because you were a kid that can handle it. You didn't know. You never knew what kind of trouble you was around. You never knew. You never knew. I always seen it, but you just ignored it.
About an hour and a half goes by. My dad walks in the door, and some exchange takes place. I have no idea, and the dudes are gone. The next morning, I called my granddad. It's like regular life again. And he picked me up. I had no shoes. My shoes were gone. Like my pennies were gone. My other Nikes were gone. So I'm going home like shoeless, right? And, at 15, you don't know the deeper meaning to that. But as you think about it, like, over time, it was like this feeling of like helplessness and not being in control. And I told myself that I would never, ever be in that situation ever again. I've never told anybody this story. I haven't told my mom. I haven't told Billy, Ginger. Like, nobody knows. Because I was always protecting, like, my dad's secret. It's just weird when you sit and think about it. Because
What happened to him?
What happened to my dad?
Yeah.
So,
Why were the guys in the house?
My dad abused substances.
Okay.
And he's not. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Right.
So they were coming to get money from him.
I think so.
He owed them money.
Yeah. And they had his car
They
instead.
had his car.
Right. Yeah, and I think my dad used my shoes that I had as collateral before.
He gave him the shoes, right?
So, it's just weird being in that, like, uncontrollable situation that I obviously associate with having no shoes. And so I've just been collecting, like, shoes as, like, a currency to make sure that something like that doesn't happen again. It's
Just
really,
in case somebody's an addict in your family, if they take one pair of shoes, you got about 90 more now.
right. I don't know. I mean, it's crazy because, like, I had not, you just don't know. Even though my dad had told me 3 years earlier that he had abused substances, and that's why he would, like, leave for, like, 4 or 5 days.
Right, of course.
But, like, I didn't put it together. So then I didn't go to my dad's house for another 4 years or something until I had a car ever again. And I went, and then I thought I was in control. I got my car, right? And then
Right.
he took my car, and he was gone for like a day.
His story is almost like my new record, like Jimmy Lee. It's the same. It's like my brother, except, yeah, I grew up around that. That was almost normal for me. For you, it wouldn't have been normal. But when you find, it wasn't normal for me either. But I found that at a younger age, right? But as you get older and you could process it, you start going like, what? You were like, because you understand substance because now you're a doctor. Mm-hmm. So you have to stop people from getting pills unnecessarily, right? Mm-hmm. So now you understand addiction. Mm-hmm. So he wasn't a bad guy.
Mm-mm.
Raphael, I have a question for you. Yeah. So like with your new album, Jimmy Lee, that's dedicated to your brother, right? It's beautiful, by the way.
Thank you.
And, I really feel that in that you sense how the heart settles around the memories of complicated people in your life. And I think as we're here and Jamie's sort of looking at his own past and trying to reconcile it in some way, what advice would you have for someone trying to do that?
Having someone in your life like your father who had, substance issues. And it took me a longer time to revisit it the way I'm revisiting it now. I feel like you have a jump on me because you're revisiting it now. You know what I mean? Because I don't know what made you do it. How you got here right now. But the advice I would give to you is just like, I think you're doing it. You're being a great father for your kids because of how you grew up. Mm. You're picking up the slack. You just don't. I tell people, like one of my cousins, like, if our parents didn't go to college and you wish that you would have went to college, I tell them, go to college now. Or make sure your kids go to college. Or make sure you educate them in certain ways. Well, what you're doing is your kids' shoes are not missing. You making sure the shoes are right where they left them, right? That's what you do. That's how you recover. That's how you laugh at it. You have to look at those things and kind of smile. Things are coming to you, and it's going to keep coming to you. Like, you don't really like to fly, right? That much. I don't either, but I have to.
Right. Yeah.
You like being in control. Same way.
You guys were talking about your dad and his interesting relationship with the truth.
Yeah.
I read somewhere, Raphael, that Saadiq means it
Man
actually
of his
means.
word.
Can you talk to me about why is that important to you?
I found this name in an Arabic book, when I was changing my name from Wiggins to Saadiq. And I wanted something that meant something, I'm like, Wiggins doesn't mean anything. It's just, you can be a black man and your name could be, Ronald Reagan. Something's wrong with that to me. I was like, we don't have our own names. Yeah. So I was like, I'm going to get a name that means something to me. And I looked up, it says Saadiq. Raphael and Saadiq, it was a closure like Tupac Shakur. It was a closure. It looked good in film and like credits are like Raphael opens up, Saadiq closes. And then it meant man of his word. And I was like, that's me. I'm a man of my word. Like if I say I'm going to do something,
that's true.
I'm going to do it. If I can't be 100 with you, I just don't really want you around, period, in my life.
Right.
And that's a blessing and a blessing. Some people say a blessing and a curse. No, it's not. It's a blessing because I feel like the faster you figure things out, for your life, the better you're going to be. So with your figuring out your story with your shoes and your father and both sides of your family and your friends and your neighbors, it's better now that you figured it out now, because you can be like me. You have to push it forward now. What I did for you, you have to find that kid. Just not your kids.
I mean, you just made a major point, which I always say to people is we are what they grow beyond. So when I'm teaching medical students and residents and fellows, I know that I'm at a place right now where they're going to be beyond once they reach where I am right now.
There you go.
And you were talking about name change, and I did the same thing. When I was a second year medical student, I mean, my name is Cedric James Franklin, and I was named after my dad. I was a junior, and I wasn't really raised by my dad. And to me, Franklin at that time in my life, had a really negative feeling, because I was thinking about all these situations and putting things together, and I was like, damn, whoa. And I said, Mom, listen, I want Rutland as my last name. And she said, are you sure? She's like, it's your dad. And I was like, I'm sure. I want Rutland. Rutland meant something. It meant people who were there, people who would follow through.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I heard about that.
And my mom said, well, Granddad would be elated. And I said, he is. And so my mom is an attorney, so she filed a name change. But she left Franklin. So my last name officially is Franklin space Rutland. Rutland's my last name. I said, Mom, why'd you do that? It's going to be so confusing. I want to be Dr. Rutland. I was in medical school. I was going to be Dr. Rutland. And I am Dr. Rutland. That's what I go by. My mom said, listen, that's where you come from, and that's your father. Right? Even though I didn't agree with her, and I was mad at her at the time, she had a point.
Yeah, same thing I told my dad. It'll still, if I have kids, they'll still be Wiggins.
Yeah.
But it'll be Saadiq too.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
One thing that really impressed me, and speaking to being a man of your word, I was impressed with how you said that when you got those 20 points, you knocked on the door, you said, I got the 20 points. Raphael just said, all right, get in the car, we're going. Immediate, right?
Yeah.
Immediate, responsive, a man of his word, right?
Mm-hmm.
That level of consistency. And not I'll get it for you next week or tomorrow, get in the car, we're going, right? Versus a situation, whether or not he did, with your dad, your first thought as a child, when your shoes went missing, regardless of who took them, was you thought your dad took them. And so I see this conflict of these two characters in your life. And I wonder if this example of honesty and consistency that you got from people like Raphael in your life and other family members that was modeled for you by these people, in rewarding yourself with these shoes, when you buy yourself these shoes, I wonder if this is an act of reparenting. If in a way, you're being the dad you never had for yourself.
I mean, as you were talking, I swelled up a little bit, but maybe. I think, I don't think that's wrong. And I think that's probably closer to right than I'll ever articulate myself. Because there were a few instances where, my dad had said he bought me some shoes, and he really didn't, but he kept leading it on. Oh, I left them in this car, I left them in that car, they're in that car, or whatever. And I'm sure that pulled me in more. And so I guess when you think about it that way, it probably is. It probably is. And it's funny because I want my kids to be into sneakers, right? And want sneakers. And I've even thought about, well, I better have another kid because my daughters aren't into sneakers. Right? But
better have another kid. No,
but they're not.
Gotta some Nikes.
And the way that I do it, literally yesterday, I talked to my friend I hadn't talked to in a year. It was his birthday. He was in medical school with me. And his son was starting school, and I was like, oh, did he get new shoes for school? And I bought him a new pair of kicks and sent him to Iowa.
That's cool. So how does that feel, Raphael, to see the what you started, live on into Jamie's passing on the gift of shoes to those who need them?
It feels great to like hear his story and you know, for me to take him to a mall and buy him shoes and stuff like that, it was actually fun for me because I like shopping. So you know, like to live in Sacramento and get up and take a kid, like, let's go get some shoes is fun. You know, like, let's go do some, you know, let's go have some fun. Let's get out of here, hop in the car, drive. I mean, Sacramento we had so much fun.
We did.
And it's sad because it's crazy. So it feels good to see that he's like, you know, doing a lot of different things, but even bringing some closure to himself, you know, it's like, you know, the most important part of the sneakers, and I can help with that. That's A100, and, you know, and also to see myself, I'm really happy that I'm this person that could help somebody, and to hear his story actually helps me help other people at the same time. And this is really, really cool to see, like, you know, that I wasn't a dick when I was younger to anybody, you know, to, like, you know, hear the story, like, no, I was cool. And that's that's my legacy, is that. And so to see it like this is beautiful.
Thanks for doing this.
Oh man,
I
got it.
don't like asking anyone for anything.
You're just like me, that's why. I don't either, but you're a doctor, and I'm gonna be calling you probably more than you're gonna be calling me.
Yeah.
I'll be like, Jamie, yo, bro, my knee, bro, what's going on? Jamie's like, bro, you're getting old, all right? Damn, that's how good it is.
So, I appreciate it, and I think, you know, for me, it wouldn't be a shoe episode unless I showed him a pair of shoes that every time I put them on or I wore them, I thought about him, and I told him why. So, there's an OG, original pair of shoes that everybody knows what they are. Everybody knows what they are, okay? And the reason that I think about him is because they're basic, they're subtle, they're original, and they are just like classics. And they have depth to them. And it's the original Air Jordan 3s.
The ones, yeah.
The 3s.
I just gave the black ones to somebody. The original ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is my favorite Jordan.
And that, every time I look at that shoe, I think about you, because it's just like, it's not flashy. It's just a white pair of sneakers, but it's got a lot of depth. It's got a lot of design. It's got a lot of creativity. And it does a lot for someone when you have a nice, fresh, classic, contrasted shoe on your foot. You feel good about yourself, and you make people feel good about themselves. So Thank you for everything.
You're welcome. I was in Portland like maybe a month ago. But we walked past this design little office, the guy who made these.
Oh, Tinker Hatfield?
Yeah. We walked right past his, it's outside of Nike. It's just like a little building. You can look and say, this is the guy who made the Nikes. This building was right there.
That's crazy.
Amazing.
Anyway, well, thanks a lot.
Man,
I
cool.
really appreciate it.
Cool, bro. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming by the studio in full production. I thought you'd come out with an iPhone.